Welcome to Powering Success, future-proofing your generator company, the go-to podcast for industry leaders in the generator installation and service business. Here we dive into the strategies and innovations that keep your company ahead of the competition and bring you insights from top experts and successful entrepreneurs. Let's get started and power up your potential. Now here's your host, marketing guru John Tedesco.
All right, guys, welcome. Welcome to our first episode, Powering Success. And we're here with Premier Energy Solutions up in Massachusetts. I'm wearing some of their swag. Danielle's got their hat over there. Danielle's my co-host, Danielle Tedesco, and she's going to be helping out with some of the questions, understanding things that's going on in the industry. And, just welcome. And, let's get started. So, Danielle, let's ask him a few questions and get some background first.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your business. Maybe what are some of your unique selling points, types of marketing that you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So that last question, John should be able to answer because he does our marketing and he does a fantastic job at it. So Premier Energy Solutions, Middleborough, Massachusetts, right? We're about 40 minutes south of Boston, and this is a competitive generator market, right? So every day we wake up and we meet and we think to ourselves, how are we going to be better than the competition and really serve more people each and every day? Mm-hmm. And through those meetings and through those devices, we've made it this far, right? Paul Foley, he's the principal of the company. He's been in business now since 1992.
Wow. And
I myself joined Premier about a little under 10 years ago. Kevin's been with the company for a couple of years now, and we got a rock star team. We really do. I mean, this is one little nugget of the team that makes up Premier, right? And we got a whole lot of really friendly people that are just out there looking to serve the customer and do it with a smile, right?
Yeah, that's great.
And what's your history on generators and the technical aspect of things?
Yeah, so as a company or personally?
Personally.
Yeah, so personally. So I mean, my first introduction to generators, really, I didn't know what a generator was prior to meeting Paul. I met him actually on a solar project. I was a solar installer at one point, and the company I was working for did not have a principal electrician, so we subbed out an electrician at that time. That was a common thing in the industry, still is. And one thing led to another, kind of fell my way into Paul and his world, and he had just really started at that time getting into generators at the level that Premier is nowadays, right? I mean, he had dabbled in them as an electrician in the past, as many do, but he wasn't thinking of himself as a generator company, or surely not a service company for that matter. I mean, service and that word and everything that entails therein was a rude awakening for us, right? Just it was a whole nother level of complexity really that was added to the market for us.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Kevin? I'm sorry. What about you, Kevin?
Keep jumping in.
Same thing, not really a lot of experience with generators until I moved here to Mass. And I moved here to Mass to work with Premier. I knew a gentleman that worked with Premier for a couple of years, and I had nothing but great things to say about the team, the company, the leadership, and he wasn't wrong. It's generators nowadays that the demand for them is so huge. It's not a commodity anymore. It's almost a necessity. So the generator aspect, it almost kind of sells itself. We sell Premier. It's the support, the reliability, the friendliness of the company. I think that's what sets us apart here from some of the other competitors.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So what kind of makes you stand out from all of your other competitors?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? How you separate yourself from the competition, and especially a majority of our competition out there has access to all the same equipment we do. So how do we make our version of that installation or that service call better? And I think Kevin kind of started to hit the nail on the head there, and it's really just how well we support the customer, right? And how we put them first through all. We are put through that test every single day with a customer that has a complaint or a problem or a question or anything like that, really. And it's just when it really boils down to it, how can we, assist that customer in the most professional way possible, and really keep it rolling that way. I mean, we kind of think about the money and the success and everything that comes thereafter, we kind of leave that as almost like an afterthought, because we truly do believe that if you do take care of that customer in the way that you should, right? Customer is king, kind of going back to those old adages. But if you really do treat the customer and put them first in the way that they should be, then you'll get there. Like you'll
Yeah.
get to where you're going and where you need to be as a company to be successful. And again, that requires having a team that surrounds you that also follows that same principle and that same mentality.
Right. So true. Yep.
And the hard part is to actually project that and have prospects and future customers see that. And the only way to do that really is to see that in your Google reviews and try to get people to, the word of mouth aspect really helps with that too. So it's
Right.
important to keep that up. I mean, you work so hard for your customers, and it's not fair sometimes that you don't even wouldn't get a job because you do really great work. So why wouldn't you get the job,
Yeah. Yeah. We, again, another one of those questions that we ask ourselves every day. I mean, I feel like coming out of every sales appointment, we should win that job. And it's not out of ego, it's not out of clout or anything like that, but it's just really great connection with the customer, right? And I know how we stand in I know how we stand up against our competition when it comes to our visual appeal online, right? I mean, we have outstanding reviews and really a really strong customer following. And I feel like, man, like if there is an opportunity to win that customer, that's ours to take, of course, but it almost doesn't feel right when we don't, or we, win a project when we're up against it with other people and whatnot. And that's not to take food off their table, right? But this is, we're Team Premier over here, right? That's who we have to support, and it's
Right.
the people that rely on Premier, the families and the staff of the staff that really rely on us to guide the success in that way.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
You're good.
Good. Yeah. I'm good.
We'll move on to some other questions. So one of the things that we wanted to ask you about too, aside from generators, so what other types of industries or businesses are you currently in to help build the premier solutions? The whole aspect of the solution. Just take me through a little bit of everything that you guys do.
Yeah, of course. It's a great question. So as a company, we're electricians by trade, and that gives us access to some other avenues that isn't just generators, right? And I feel like of the generator companies that are out there, majority of them, if they don't offer everything in-house, they're either a plumber or an electrician, and each will have their own respective business verticals that they can kind of strive for that are outside of generators. So with us, what that really amounts to is we find other work that is relatable to the electrical industry, right? We're not going out and trying something tomorrow that's just completely outside of our wheelhouse, where we're gonna have too much exposure for getting a bad reputation, or for really just missing the mark and not serving a customer the way we need to be. So what that amounts to is obviously electrical work, right? So we do some light commercial work, some residential work. We're actually growing on the residential service side of things and really trying to retap our already kind of happy customer base and see what more we can provide for them in that way. We obviously do ductless mini splits from an HVAC aspect, and that's been a tricky one for us to really get into. That's a highly competitive market, and I think the HVAC industry, especially in our locality, is a lot more sophisticated than generators, and there's a lot more legacy involved in it. The majority of the generator companies that are out there in our location, at least, they're sometimes second and third generation, but they are so kind of fixated on generators being seasonal, and that's something that we really kind of strive for, spreading out through the entire year, because it's really hard to keep quality staff on throughout an entire year, and when a storm does hit, or when it is generator season, to have those people in place and not be laid off or not be lost because you didn't have enough work for them, or any other things that can happen for that. And that's kind of segueing back to the conversation or the comment on ductless mini splits. Generator sales are typically down during the summertime, and ductless mini splits were a great way to kind of offset that lack of work essentially over the summertime. And again, it hasn't been without its faults and failures and everything else therein. But we're learning it. We're learning that market, and we're learning actually how similar the ductless customer is to the generator customer. Our first year really getting into ductless a couple years back now, we just retargeted our existing customer base. We didn't put a whole lot of money into advertising at the time because we weren't even sure what we were doing, right? But we just retargeted our already generator happy customers and came out with 60 jobs over the course of a summertime. And they were great projects, and really not without some issues and some, I'm not even gonna say customer complaints, because really the customer was happy across the board, but learning curves and whatnot. But it really amounted to kind of proven to ourselves, okay, we can do this. This is another avenue for the company to take it when generator sales are slow, or when the summertime picks up, whatever leads us there. And that's been a great source of revenue for us, a great way to keep the guys busy, a great way to get the Premier name out further. And on the flip side, we've gotten ductless only customers that we've retargeted for a generator. And that's awesome. Then that just kind of feeds the cycle again.
For sure.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
this is great for anyone listening too. I mean, if they're generator installers and electricians, they can also get into that business and utilize their own knowledge and electrical, industry to install mini splits or get into that aspect of the business when the generator business is a little down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things where generators don't have to be seasonal, but I understand, the cycle that you can be in, or the fixated spot you can be in when you're looking for that generator customer and you're just not finding them, right? And sometimes, no matter how much your reach is, sometimes it's just, hey, I haven't lost power in a while. I'm not necessarily looking for a generator at this moment. And so as a company, and not being such a one-trick pony and being able to kind of offer a few different services, I can guarantee you at any time of the year, we can always find someone that needs either an electrical service, a ductless installation or servicing, or generator installation or servicing. And you just extrapolate that throughout the entire year, and somehow you keep people busy throughout all of it.
Yeah, nice. It's a good way to do it. What other, yeah, you guys are also getting into batteries and solar also, right?
We are, yeah. So on the battery end of it, it's interesting. I was a little apprehensive first getting into it because I'm thinking to myself, geez, that's stealing from my generator sales, and I don't like that. And what after I kind of got out of my own little head there, and I really thought about it in a bigger light, what's very interesting about it is that the two technologies, batteries and generators, really do accommodate one another very well, and they work together very well, and especially in conjunction with solar. I mean, it's really, in the state of Massachusetts, it's interesting. I've had customers, homeowners for years and years and years talk about this concept of getting off grid. And that's such a superfluous thought. That's never, they designed the system in a way that you cannot do that. I mean, short of just having a tent out in the woods, you're not going to have a home that is just completely self-sufficient and not be connected to utility power. It's not,
Sure.
we're not allowed to, unfortunately. However, the closest that I can surmise that you can get to that is someone that is connected to utility power, has solar on their roof or in their farm or whatever it is, as well as a generator and a battery. And the technologies just work in such an amazing way to where the generator can actually support the batteries and charge them when there's no sunlight feeding the solar and thus feeding the batteries. And it's a really cool way for the customer to kind of control their own power usage is one, but where that power comes from. And I think that's really cool as well. They can harness the power of the sun, store it in the batteries, utilize that power. And then if they do end up with a significant power outage that might be more than what the capacity of the battery has to offer, the generator can kick in and provide them power in their time of need. So it's really cool kind of how it's not necessarily a batteries or generator conversation.
They kind of complement each other.
They do. They very much so do. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. They really do. And that's what we're finding. We're finding, again, similar to the ductless, it's the same customer. It's someone that's looking to invest in their home, protect their livelihood, protect their family, and provide a better way of life for themselves. No one likes dealing with a power outage, of course. It's a pain, right? And there can be loss at that time, right? Your basement can flood. You can lose food in the fridge. I mean, there's life or death situations sometimes. And so the more solutions that we can have for a customer, the better. And one other just small little nugget there as well is there are situations where we do, or we've been to condo associations or condo projects, complexes where a generator just wouldn't have been the right application. It would have been too noisy, or they wouldn't have the space for it, or whatever it is. And a battery sometimes is a solution in that way.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and now since you guys are all into this whole solution aspect, and you're covering at least four different categories of energy solutions, what would you say is the most complex, or what would you rather do over another, or what's your leading service that you want to stay in?
Yeah, generators have been very good to us. We have a special place in our heart for generators, and it's really the Premier Energy Solutions, John, that today was built on generators, right? So that process to us is the most known, it's the most well-tread, and it's the most refined. That isn't to say that we don't discover every day, hey, we should be doing this a little bit differently, whatever this minor thing is, but it's a lot more tweaking of the system now versus building it from the ground floor up. The solar and battery side of things, it's not that I wouldn't do without it, but it's daunting. I mean, there's a lot of changing technology. There's a lot to be known about it. There's a lot of unknowns out there, and that's been a very kind of fickle industry for a long time now. I mean, even 20 years ago, they were doing battery installations with very subpar setups. I mean, almost deep cell car batteries in the basement, and you'd have a whole room of these batteries and whatnot. And now we can offer the same capacity in a 3x5 shell. And so it's very interesting to see the evolution of that and where it's going to be taken to. So again, it's not necessarily a gripe, and I wouldn't necessarily leave any one of these industries behind. But we definitely have a favoritism with generators.
How do you keep up with all the new technology, the new things that are coming out year to year?
Yeah, a lot of Zoom calls.
A lot of training.
Yeah, but that's almost like a blessing in disguise as well, because with generators, technology hasn't changed all that great over the past 20 years, right? I mean, we've gotten some advanced remote monitoring and some better diagnostics, and yeah, they might source better motherboards or sensors these days, but they're pretty small improvements. And with batteries, I mean, we're seeing just light years of information just before our eyes, just kind of getting to the next evolution of what a battery is, and the chemistry of a battery, and the monitoring for a battery, and the capacity of the battery and whatnot. I mean, batteries now are so much more safer than they were 20 years ago. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that still have in their mind, lithium ion cell phone battery fires on planes and whatnot, right? And that's not the conversation with the batteries nowadays. They're inherently safe, and there's just such a better it's such a better selling point, right? When you can loop in safety and not have this like, oh geez, I hope this doesn't happen, and create some kind of liability for me.
Yeah.
I would imagine the batteries are a little harder of a sell, but I mean, in Massachusetts, they have the Mass Save and the incentive program, the tax incentive program. What do you foresee other states getting into this, or it being a more powerful than the generators, or do you think this is the wave of the future? What's to come?
Yeah, I definitely do see it as the future across the board. And Massachusetts as a state has really always been wanting to be on the forefront of technology on especially towards like greener technology, right? Reducing our carbon footprint and reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. And as you mentioned it right there, John, the Mass Save program, that not only funnels funds and resources into the ductless side of things, but it also funnels resources into the battery side of things. And that's what makes it a little bit more accessible for the average homeowner and whatnot, and not such a pet project for someone that just has money to burn and they're looking to spend some money before tax season or whatever it is. I mean, this can be accomplished by the everyday homeowner that's just looking for some ability to control their power consumption and where that power is coming from.
What are some of the unique challenges that you face in this business, whether it's installing generators, providing maintenance on them, or even dealing with a customer?
It has to be a few.
Yeah, I'd say what comes top of mind, and I think this is going to resonate pretty loudly with Kevin, is like local authority and the utility companies. I think that's typically one of those things where we have to work closely with the power company and with the gas company and a lot of different check marks and whatnot, and they aren't necessarily held to the same standards that we are. And that isn't to put them necessarily in a negative light, because a lot of the individuals that we work with are actually really awesome people and really go out of their way to help us when they wouldn't necessarily have to, but their hands can be tied at times because of just how the business operates and everything. I can't necessarily go online and write a bad review for my local utility company. First off, it's probably not a place to do it. And then if I did, it's probably not going to matter so much. Whereas if you were to leave a bad review with Premier, you're getting a phone call from myself as the general manager, or Paul Foley, the owner, that day that we see it posted, and we're going to say why. Where do we drop the ball? We only have a few of those not 5-star reviews out there and everything like that. Even a 4-star review, I call that customer up and I'm like, why wasn't it a 5? And it's not it's not confrontational by any means, but I want to learn.
So you can learn, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely local utility is a huge stumbling point for us at times, I'll say. Beyond that, it's really, and this is up to sales, but it's really convincing the customer of the value of Premier over the other companies and whatnot. I could talk all day long about how we're special and we can write that down on paper, but we need a customer that's able to accept that information and really know that, okay, there is a difference in that dollar value, but this is what I'm going to get as a different service from these two different companies, Premier versus X other company. And that's our journey right there. That's our journey on how we can convince that customer, really show them that, hey, we are the best choice for you. And it's not that I'm just looking to make a sale and make my commission buck for the day or something like that, but we want to grow our company to a point to where no matter what's happening in the world, we're going to be there for them. You know, if we're not in business next year, I can't service them. And that's what we're hedging against, is we're making sure that we're going to be in business for the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot of the issues that some of the smaller guys have, is that they're unable to service the clients that they're installing for. So typically you guys pick that up. But that's some of the issues that they deal with. How might you help anyone that's listening, that's maybe a smaller generator dealer, or like, installing maybe one a month or three a month or five a
Startup
month
company.
installers? Yeah, the startups,
Yeah.
what might you say to them to help them understand a little bit better of how they can scale their business?
Right. Best
Yeah, I
advice
think
you can give.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest transition points for a generator company is, in all likelihood, they probably didn't get into their trade as a generator only company, right? It probably segued from another line of business, like electrical work or like plumbing work
Mhm.
and whatnot.
Mhm.
I think what makes it extra difficult is like the transition to actually being like an install company to a servicing company. And at least, like, speaking from our experience, that was a huge hill for us to climb. It was really in a way where, our electricians, they would clock in at X time and leave at X time. There was no after hours calls. There was no emergency service or support in any which way or form. And on the generator side, the generator service side of things, we really had to build that department in order to separate ourselves from the competition, in order to offer these services that no one else at the time was offering, or if they were, they weren't necessarily offering it to the best of their ability. Uh, Really just kind of what it takes to actually go from being an electrician or a plumber or whatever your previous trade was to being a generator technician, because they're not the same. I mean, they're very different in a lot of ways.
Mm.
I'm an electrician by trade, and I will not touch a generator on the service side of things, but I'll go out and help if I need to help. If I'm the last line of defense, that's not a problem whatsoever. And I know
Yeah.
my way around a generator plenty, but I'm not a generator mechanic by any stretch of the imagination. I mean,
Yeah.
to really invest in the mentality of service for the generator side of things, you need generator mechanics behind you. You need willing, able, capable technicians that are wanting to not only get their hands dirty, but help the customer
Yeah.
and really figure out what's going on. I mean, these are very basic machines for what they are, but they can really throw a curveball at you, and they can really, there's a lot that can go on, and a lot can happen by way of damage to the machine or the home if you're not
Mhm.
get safely or properly.
Yeah.
Right. You do a lot on the commercial side as well?
Primarily residential, some like commercial.
Yeah.
A commercial game, you get a lot into the whole mindset of just you're in a room full of 20 other contractors and you're all submitting your bids to be the lowest contract, and it's just not our game. There's
Yeah.
plenty of commercial projects that I've bid on that I just I knew, hey, I'm probably not going to get this, and sometimes I do, and I feel great about it because I'm not the only person that actually submitted on that project. So, I mean, to any up and coming electricians or generator companies, I wouldn't say don't go after it. Go after it. Don't expect it to be your only line of work, I guess, within the generators and whatnot. We
Mhm.
have a great spot with the residential side of generators, and some companies are just the opposite. Some of them would prefer to be on the commercial industrial side, and that just suits their model better. But for us, we enjoy the retail work. We enjoy connecting with our customers and kind of tapping on that market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about brands for a second. So you guys are primarily a Kohler branded generator company. This is the brand that you're always installing. This is the brand that you're always talking about. Um, Tell me a little bit about why Kohler, what's up with Generac, what's up with Briggs and Stratton, and all these other guys that you could be installing or pushing towards your customers. Tell me why Kohler is your number one, your go-to.
Yeah, support and like the relationships that you get from the manufacturer. I mean, that's everything to us, right? I mean, I tell customers with a plain, just honest face all the time that I can only support you as well as the manufacturer can support me, because if I have a part that's on back order or a machine that has a problem, I need them to okay the fix of this or the replacement of this or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
And Kohler has just time and time again proven to be the better fit for our model.
So it comes down to customer service again.
It really does. Yeah, it comes down to, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I have plugged into my cell phone that have, Kohler and then their name and then the department. And I have direct lines for so many people over there. And when you're a volume dealer like we are, yeah, they're gonna want to fluff you up a little bit and give you some contacts and make sure that you're heard when you have a complaint or an issue or anything like that. And that's all well and good. But I mean, we've only just since opened up the doors to these other generator manufacturers, Generac and Briggs and Stratton and even Cummins, for example. And a lot of it has been from a service perspective. Just because, I got tired, honestly, of hearing, hey, Brandon, you did a great job installing our Kohler generator. My sister's up the street. She's got a Generac. Would you go service her? And I'd say, oh, geez, Mr. Smith, I can't service that because we don't. We're just a Kohler only dealer. And it's like, if you're on a growth pattern and you're looking to kind of expand, it kind of becomes a little bit small-minded at that point. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with those machines or those support. We just haven't had the same connection, I guess, at the end of the day. I know plenty of Generac and Briggs and Stratton dealers out there that have had awesome success, and I have good contacts with those companies as well. But just across the board, the relationship with Kohler has just been fantastic. It really has. I mean, it's not without it's oh geez, I really wish they kind of went this way instead of that way on this decision or whatever it is. But that's not to be expected. I'm not always going to get my way on these things.
Typical, right? So you won't service a Generac?
We will now. Yeah, up until a couple of years ago. Yeah. So it was interesting at the time. About 2 years ago, I looked at the owner, Paul, and I said, we're creating Kohler generator technicians, not generator technicians, and I think that was really limiting for us, for our mindset and our ability to service other customers and whatnot. And we have, it really, I mean, that just opened the doors in such a way to not only build our service department, but just build our reputation and really expand our reach to a lot more people, really. I mean, Generac has, let's face it, they've got 75 to 80% of the market share, depending on what study you're reading. That's not nothing. I mean, that's a nationwide study. I mean, it's majority of the time when I'm driving up and down the street and I see a generator on the side of the road, there's a good chance it's going to be a Generac generator. And I'm not in fear of that anymore. And I'm looking at that as an opportunity. Hey, who's servicing that machine? And if they don't have someone, it should be Premier. Or if they're not happy with who's servicing it or who left to service it, it should be Premier, or at least give us a shot at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what is the biggest misconception in this industry?
The biggest misconception.
Kevin, you're on the operations end of things. You might actually see a little bit of this. The way things should be, but they're not, and there's no reason why they aren't.
I think it comes with, and it starts with the salesman, setting the right expectations with these homeowners. And, everybody's very particular about their home and their yard and how you're going to do things. And we have to understand that, they're allowing us to come into their space and take control of the significant project, and they're putting full trust in us. So I think guiding the customer the right direction, helping them understand the process, and that, our relationship doesn't end after your generator project is done. We're here for you 24/7. The salesman that you met with the first time, the project manager that handled your project, and anybody in the office after the fact, we're always here for you. And a lot of service companies out there don't, like Brandon was saying, don't offer that kind of level that we do. So a lot of these customers are kind of skeptical when dealing with us. So allowing us to prove to them that we're better, that we know what we're doing, you need to trust us. I think that's one of the, small challenges that we face day to day with all these customers.
Yeah, that's huge. The sales end of things and how you key up or tee up the customer ahead of the installation is super important. Even to get the deal. I mean, you want them to know it's a seamless process. You'll take care of the permits. You'll take care of the warranty. Do
everything from start to finish.
Definitely.
Correct. And you said it yourself earlier as well, John. It's having all those customer testimonials and reviews of people sharing their experience. That's a salesman that I'm not paying for. That's somebody that just, with their own honesty, just let the world know, hey, these guys, they're the real deal. So it starts with the salesman, but maybe somebody before they contacted us started doing that research prior and saw those testimonials and customer reviews. And I'm going to give these guys a chance. And Brandon comes or Joe comes, one of our salesmen come, and they maintain that same reputation that these customers saw online. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. And that'll only take you so far. I mean, they still have to get through the cost of a generator, having the ability to finance this thing, or pay, and pay monthly, things like that it's a huge thing for some homeowners to be able to afford it.
It is. Yeah. It's for many, it's a luxury, and it's still viewed that way. And you think about like air conditioning in new homes. I mean, in the probably late 80s, it started to be a movement where you could actually buy a home that would have air conditioning uh, as an option, right? And nowadays, you will not find a home that isn't built without air conditioning, no matter what climate zone you live in, right? We're not in Arizona or Texas where it's mandatory. We're in an area where it is optional, but you very rare that you're going to see a new home without air conditioning, and we're starting to see that a little bit on the generator side as well, even though it is still a luxury. Uh, I think the average consumer has probably lost a little bit of faith in their utility company to be able to provide that consistent, reliable power. And I say that as a homeowner in Massachusetts. I mean, I have a generator, right? But it's I still would rather rely on my utility company and allow them to do their job to a professional enough level where I'm not running my generator 24/7 or through extended power outages or anything like that. But for when you do need it, a generator, it's important.
It gives you peace of mind for sure. I know
It does.
when we didn't
of
have
mind.
a generator, and we lost power for 10 days.
Uh,
And it was in the winter, and I had a young child at the time. That was tough. That was really tough. Just to figure out what we were going to do, hoping the power was going to come back on. So knowing that we have a generator, it brings a great sense of peace of mind for sure. But what do you do for people that, may have an issue with the price? Do you work with them, set up payment plans, or how does that work?
Yeah, so generators aren't cheap, right? And the installation isn't cheap either. There's a lot that goes into it, and we have several licenses and certified people across the board, and they are not paid peanuts to get these jobs done correctly, safely, et cetera, right? So we work with a few different lending partners essentially. So we have some financing, we have some second look financing as well for some people that may not have had the best credit throughout their time and whatnot. So having various options out there is what's key in that way. Have some in-house payment plans and stuff set up, some lump sum kind of things. But financing is a great avenue for a lot of contractors out there to kind of open their doors to some people that may not have been otherwise, given the opportunity to get a generator.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
let's
huge.
face it, not everyone has, obviously different markets, different pricing and whatnot, but let's just throw out a ballpark number of 15 grand fully installed. Not everyone has that just sitting in an account,
Right.
just to hedge for that 1 or 2 times a year that they may lose power. And obviously, depending on the locality, I mean, I know some customers that they just know they have to have a generator. They're going to lose it 10 times a year
Yeah.
without
Depending on
fail.
where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I have other customers. I mean, I learned this very early into generator sales. It used to be my go-to line. I'd walk in the door and I'd say, okay, when's the last time we lost power? And that worked for the first few appointments. Then you get the first customer that says, we've been here for 35 years and we've never once lost power. You go, okay, time to redo that script, right? That doesn't
Yeah.
cut it anymore.
Do you need any air conditioners?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Got to pivot real quickly, right?
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you said, is that they, sometimes it's just peace of mind. Sometimes they recognize that, hey, yeah, we have not yet lost power in these 3 decades we've been in this home, but we think we will, or we're worried that
Right.
we want to start going away for the winter time, and we don't worry about our home, and that's what allows them that freedom to leave their home in a time of not such great weather.
Yeah, I mean, just for what it's going to cost you when you do lose power, and if you lose it for a certain amount of time, the cost of how much food you're losing because now your fridge isn't on for how many days. There's so many things that you don't take into account when you lose your power.
Yeah.
So when you look at it that way, the cost of a generator, and having that peace of mind, it's well worth it.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we kind of went through everything that you guys covered, what, all the different services that you offer, how long you've been in business, what you guys do personally at the company. So what do you foresee the future of Premier Energy Solutions, like 6 to 8 years in the future?
That's
Yeah.
a good question. 6 to 8 years.
Yeah,
6 to
yeah.
10,
So
5 to 10, 10 to 15.
we are on a charge right now for not necessarily expanding our territory geographically, but just getting into more homes and really like I think where we have a lot of upcoming success on that end of it is the electrical service side of things. I mean, we need to get into someone's home, prove to them just how legitimate and how much of a company, how well-rounded of a company we are, and just how much everyone cares about the customer of this company. And then it's almost a no-brainer for the customer. Then they just kind of automatically in their brain go, instead of let me go online and let me vet out all these companies, let me go through the whole three contractor due diligence
Mhm.
process, whatnot. Let me just call Premier. And I really, there's been a large push over the past 5 years or so of these home services companies, and that's where I do kind of anticipate Premier heading in that direction and whatnot, and being able to just kind of be your one-stop shop for any service in a person's home. And I think that allows a lot of flexibility and freedoms with Premier, but also for the customer because they have one phone number that they can call for multiple services,
Right.
and really it's a trusted phone number as well, right? It's not, oh yeah, this is the
Mhm.
first time dabbling with this. We don't necessarily do a whole lot of looking before we leave kind of thing over here. You know what I mean? It's we're
Mhm.
hiring the right people, the trained people, the people that are coming over here from just highly reputable companies with a long background of success, and putting the right people out there in front of people in their homes, and creating just that cycle of just positive energy for the customer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overall customer service, that's really the key to having a very successful business. When you don't have that, it makes it very difficult for you to do the job that you want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of all for naught. I mean, you can have the best electrician, the best plumber, the best technician in the world, but if you're not servicing them with a smile, they're going to
Yep.
pick up on that. They're going to pick up on that immediately. I mean, how many times
Mhm.
you just think about, just that grouchy old mechanic or something like that. And yeah, he takes care of you and does a good job and stuff like that. But man, I almost hate calling him because I feel like he's gonna just jump down my throat and yell at me over
Yeah.
it isn't even my fault or problem, right? And
Yep.
uh, and
Or showing up for service calls, or all those other things that are involved in good customer service.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. All right. What else?
Okay.
What else you got? You guys have a rant or anything in this industry that you want to share? Anything else that had like this maybe burning desire to? I hope he asked me about this because I can't wait to
Hmm.
bring it up.
You got anything, Kevin?
Or if you won the lottery, what would you do with that money?
I don't play the lottery. I might
Yeah.
not fit in too well in our locality because of that, because there's a lot of people that are very much into their Mega Millions and their Keno and all these things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that's a slippery slope.
Oh, it is.
Right. Yes, for sure. It definitely is.
But gripes within the industry, not really. And I don't mean to give you like this like altruistic answer and whatnot, but it's a good fit for me, for the company. It really is. I mean, I've worked in a lot of different positions in a lot of different industries throughout my life, and none have fit as well as generators or our kind of clientele, right? Uh,
Mhm.
Even all the jobs where it's like, man, this is going to be a tough one, or when you get a customer that just it seems like you just can't, no matter what you do, you can't please them kind of thing. We come out on the other end. I mean, it's not without some stress and maybe a few more gray hairs or something, but you
Mhm.
get up to the other side and you get to the next customer, and then like there's so many customers that I meet on a day-to-day basis, and again, this is just going back to that customer-centric mentality. But there's so many customers that I meet every single day where it's just like, geez, you're an awesome person. I want to do a good job for you. And it makes it easy.
Mhm.
It really does. It's like you're working for friends and family at that point. You always want to do it by friends and family. So if
Yeah.
you really just extend that mindset to everyone that you're working for day in and day out, it makes it a breeze, honestly.
Mhm.
It makes it to where, yeah, it's challenging, but I enjoy it. And I enjoy the
Right.
challenge of it. I enjoy seeing, okay, hey, we got a problem. Let's figure out how to solve it.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
say in this office all the time, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And I think
Mhm.
that's very true. I think that's what keeps a lot of people, it's almost like a gatekeeping thing, is the fact that like, oh geez, how did they make that person happy? Or how did they take this situation and make it a not such a bad situation? And I like
Mhm.
finding those solutions.
Yeah,
That's great.
definitely. That's all great. And I
Mhm.
know you have this home show coming up next week, and we're going to talk about this next time we have you on. I want to know how this home show goes because you guys made a 10-foot trailer or whatever
Yeah, I heard
a mini
about
home
this.
trailer was. This has got a battery hookup. It's got a generator. It's got solar panels on the roof. You have an EV charger
It's really
outside.
cool.
This thing is 100% self-efficient and could run
Yeah.
for 1,000 years.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So we do, as you know, John, we go to some select large home shows every single year, and they're a really great opportunity for both Premier and for the customer, because the customer gets to come out and they not only can meet some of the Premier team, but they get to touch and feel some of this equipment that there's not a whole lot of showrooms for generators out there, right? That's just not been something in the market, a common thing, at least in our area. So this is an opportunity for us to bring some of that equipment out there for them to touch and feel it. And we bring multiple brands as well. And that way, if the customer's really kind of warm between two different brands, let me bring you two of them. Let me bring you two comparable units between two different manufacturers, and you could choose for yourself. And I love that. I love being able to provide that for the customer. And typically it stimulates conversations that you're not necessarily just going to get over the phone. And the benefit of it as well, from our company standpoint, if you have a new hire or you have someone that you're still kind of training up and whatnot, it's a great opportunity for them to come and learn, to see the more seasoned Premier people kind of in their element and talking to those customers. Kevin's come to some shows in his first year working here, and it's like he'll hear a conversation and that'll spark questions and conversations between him and myself that I would never have thought of just sitting down and just spitball with them. I got a lot of thought in my mind, generator related. I would never have gotten there in a million years, but because we were in our element and he was watching the pitch and he's like, why do we talk about this? Or why do we do this way? And it just allows that opportunity, and it's fantastic. And so really, to John's point, the trailer there, what we thought about is, home shows are only at certain times of the year. There's only so many of those events where it's really, really fruitful and really worthwhile. Let's build something that's mobile. Let's build something we can kind of take around and tour our territory with. And that's where where the name is still pending, but something along the lines of like Mobile Energy Lab, something along those lines.
That's
but
cool.
I mean, this is a self-reliant unit. To your point, it has solar, battery. It's fully wired, obviously, an electrical panel inside there. It's got a ductless unit inside there. Everything's functional as well. That's the other thing. These are all functional units. I can hear what that unit sounds like. I can see what it does, or I can watch how the power transfers, etc. And it's gonna have a generator on site as well. And this is just a great example, a great means for Premier to showcase all the different services that they provide.
Yeah.
And did you say that you use that when you have new employees coming in for training?
Not the trailer, not yet. The trailer is we're working on that still. That's still in construction. But we use the advantage of doing these home shows and bringing a new hire to them, and then that way they can kind of that's a crash course. It really is. They're usually long days throughout a weekend, and it's like sometimes you think to yourself like, oh geez, hey, there's other things I'd rather be doing than working on a weekend. But it's if you're invested in your career, there's no quicker way to learn our craft than going to one of these shows.
So do you have a video of this trailer?
I've got some renderings of it. It's raw.
I saw the rendering. It looks really cool. Yeah.
I want to see it. That sounds good.
Yeah.
It really sounds good.
Definitely take video at this home show so we can
we
can put it on the website.
Yep.
There'll be plenty of
Awesome
videos of the customers interacting with the different equipment. We're gonna get a lot of footage. Because it's
Definitely.
it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge.
And this is going to be in a couple of weeks. This is the end of January.
And there's probably not one generator dealer out there that is doing that. So
not that we know of. Not that we know of. It's a lot though. It's a lot of effort. I mean, to keep dreaming up new things, to get the support and the funding and everything behind it, right? I feel like it's in addition to our already full-time job, right? And I don't say that necessarily from a complaining standpoint, but that's what's going to get us to where we want to go, and that's what's going to make us have such a foothold in this industry where it's going to really stand the test of time and really allow us to serve the customer to the best of our ability.
Yeah, definitely. That's great.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you very much. I think this is great. This is a great first episode for our podcast. You guys were dressed for the part too. You got your whole studio set up. I'm loving it.
Love the studio setup. Love the chairs.
You're great.
Nice.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll
thank you.
Get you guys scheduled in. We'll do it again.
Thank you for listening to Powering Success, future-proofing your generator company. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. For more information or to connect with John, visit him online at www.generatorseo.com. If you found value in today's content, please share with others and leave us a rating and a review. Until next time, this has been Powering Success.